This is Kat Klingensmith with Retro Crime. We went to Cooperstown to see the National Baseball Hall of Fame Museum. Cooperstown is a cute little city tucked away in the Catskills of New York. We had a wonderful time. My favorite experience at the museum was seeing the Honus Wagner T206 baseball card. It is the stuff of legends. It's so rare because it came in tobacco pouches. Wagner didn't want kids buying tobacco for his card, so he forced the American Tobacco Company to stop production. The card itself is just a picture of a man who was born, 151 years ago in a town about 15 minutes away from me. His house was just a small little house, maybe 3 bedroom. It's still there. And the picture of that guy is now worth, I think the last time it sold at auction, it went for about $7 million. We got to see it as it was. When a boy bought a pouch of tobacco and took a card out, maybe he was a Pirates fan, maybe he wasn't, and down the road, someday it would be worth a fortune. Museums and historic sites, they're like bridges to the past. We get to see what people saw back then, before the legend. Extraordinary things happen in ordinary places with ordinary things, and most often by ordinary people. Sometimes it's something mundane that ends up being valuable. Sometimes it's a local kid who becomes a legendary athlete. Sometimes it's a nice lady who makes national headlines for killing her husband and his girlfriend with his own service pistol. This was in September of 1959 in Lawrence, New York, which is right outside of Cooperstown. Our shooter's name was Catherine Harrig. She went by Kitty. Kitty met her husband Howard in high school. Her yearbook quote is, "She met Howard, he's her guy." By 26, she had been married for 8 years and produced kids. Like many women in her day, her career of choice was wife and mother, and she was exceptional at it. The whole town noticed and admired her. Her husband Howard, on the other hand, he had a different reputation. He was a former police officer and in the National Guard. His affairs were a poorly kept secret. His friend said that all he talked about was women. He also ominously told his work friend that he taught Kitty how to shoot with his .45 caliber service gun and that she was just as good a shot as he was. His buddy warned him that one day she would kill him with it. Howard didn't think it was possible because Kitty was too nice. In 1957, Howard left Kitty for another Catherine. Kitty and the kids were unable to pay for rent or food, so she took him to court for non-support. Despite being ordered to pay far more than only $35, that's all he gave her. That's about $400 in 2025 money. She filed for divorce and worked for 5 months to provide for her family. Then, like most bad marriages, she and Howard reconciled. They even went to her pastor for marriage counseling. The pastor addressed the infidelity, and Howard said that he couldn't help it because women found him irresistible. The pastor privately advised Kitty to separate and take the kids. So basically, she went to someone for help. That person gave her a solution. She ignored it, and her problem grew worse. People, when they do that, it is just a big pet peeve of mine. Howard continued running around with other women and told Kitty that if she didn't like it, she could kill herself. How classy. In early summer of 1959, Howard met a 21-year-old girl named Alice. Alice worked at the local diner as a server and dishwasher. He quickly fell in love and told his friends that he had never felt this way before, and Alice was the only woman he ever truly loved. He wanted to divorce Kitty and marry Alice. At home with Kitty, things weren't without hope in her mind. A few weeks prior to the incident, they went to the beach as a family, and it was one of their best days. She thought things were improving. When they got home, Howard seemed genuinely regretful that he had to go to the office and work late. He was actually seeing Alice. On September 18th of 1959, Kitty's friend Glennis Goldsmith called her in the morning to ask if she wanted to see the girls their husbands were running around with. One of them was Alice, and the other was her 18-year-old friend, Margaret. Margaret was Alice's aunt, even though she was 3 years younger. She was an aunt through marriage, and by the ripe age of 18, her marriage had already fizzled. Kitty told Glennis she'd pick her up that night. Coincidentally, earlier that day, Kitty had found 2 love letters from Alice in Howard's pocket when she was pressing his clothes. She had put them back and said nothing. 9 o'clock rolled around. Kitty picked up Glennis, and first they went to Margaret's. George, Glennis's husband, there. He was just on his way out the door. They asked to see Margaret, and George told them no. Margaret was sleeping. They asked about Alice, and George told them that she was working at the diner. After earning a slap from his wife, the women went to Alice's work. Kitty confronted Alice and told her to stay away from her husband because they had 4 children and what was to become of them. Alice said that they had plans for that and didn't elaborate. Kitty gave a final warning to stay away or she would shoot her. Kitty and Glennis left and went to the Goldsmith home to drink and discuss what to do next. When Kitty left to drive home, a car came up to her honking. It was Alice and Margaret. Alice got out of her car, came over to Kitty's, and tried to get in. She wanted Kitty to take her to see Howard so that he could tell her, quote unquote, what's what. When Kitty wouldn't let her in the car, Alice invited herself over. Kitty asked how did she know where she lived, and how do you think? Alice had already been there before. Kitty told Alice that she wasn't the first girl Howard had been running around with. Alice was surprised and asked what that meant. Kitty didn't have the heart to elaborate and told her to never mind her. She'd just been drinking. It meant nothing. Kitty raced home and confronted Howard. She told him that Alice was on her way and asked what he was going to do about it. He went to the desk in the hall, took a bullet out of his gun, threw it at her, and said, "I've told you enough times what you can do about it." Alice and Margaret knocked at the back door, and Kitty told them they were at the wrong door. They came in apologizing for the error. This is a time when girls were constantly told to be nice, be polite, put others before their own needs. Alice sat down next to Howard, who had his arms outstretched, waiting for her. Kitty claims that they looked at her and laughed. Kitty silently left the room, and Howard said to Alice, "She has something to show you." I think he may have meant the divorce papers he had filed earlier. He didn't get the chance to elaborate. Kitty came back holding a catalog. Then she took out the gun behind it and shot both of them dead. Margaret ran out screaming. Afterwards, Kitty went to her neighbor's house, still holding the gun, and she asked her neighbor to call the police because she had just shot Howard. Kitty was such a benign creature that her neighbor wasn't scared to see Kitty in her house, drunk and holding a gun. In court, all the character witnesses attested to what a good woman Kitty was, that she tried her hardest to make her marriage work and was a wonderful mother. The only one who had anything negative to say about her was her sister-in-law. Howard's sisters said that in 1957, when Kitty and Howard were separated, she and their oldest brother Harold visited her. Kitty and Harold made out, then Kitty went to the bathroom, came out without clothes on, and went to the bed in the dining room that they had converted into a bedroom. Harold told his sister to call a cab and leave, which she promptly did. Then she said that Kitty was a nice person, and she had always thought so, and she still did. Kitty denied the incident, of course. 2 local reverends from different churches sent letters begging for Kitty to be released and sent back to her children. The mayor himself went to court and testified as a character witness. He requested that Kitty be released. One of the jurors anonymously wrote a letter asking for the same. But the judge was bothered by Kitty's lack of remorse, or her seeming lack of remorse. I don't think he understood that he was dealing with a woman who was used to stuffing her feelings. I think he expected some hysterics. Kitty was charged with manslaughter. Reason being is that Kitty claimed that she meant to shoot the floor because she just wanted to scare them. However, she lost control because the gun was so big that she accidentally shot them. The jury bought this. Keep in mind, this is the gun that Kitty was trained on, and this is also the gun that Howard had said Kitty's just as good a shot as he is. The judge said she could be out in 2 years if she behaved well, and she could be back with her kids. None of these people were especially monstrous. They were just ordinary people. Alice was, by all accounts, a lovely girl with a hard life. Her mother had had her as a teenager, then took off and left Alice to be raised by her grandparents. Earlier that year, in 1959, Alice had been gang raped. Instead of therapy, an older man came along who showered her with the love she needed. She probably hesitated when she found out he was married. But since all of her information about Kitty was from Howard, and I've met a few Howards in my life, I think he convinced Alice that Kitty was a monster, like maybe accuse Kitty of his own bad behavior. This would cause Alice to feel no remorse for seeing Howard. In this picture he paints, she isn't a mistress. She is his savior. I doubt Alice ever intended to be anyone's mistress. She was just vulnerable. As far as Howard, his behavior is slimy. Where did it come from? He grew up during a time when it was taught that mothers aren't supposed to cuddle their babies, or they would become entitled brats. It's against nature to not cuddle one's kids, so a person raised like that, their character develops against nature. A person is supposed to be a good spouse and a good parent. When a baby is only held to be fed and changed, they can't bond in a healthy way. Kids raised like this grow up and make great factory workers and great soldiers. It can turn out business owners who measure success by their personal wealth. It can also turn out men with mommy issues who desperately need to be adored by women to fill the emptiness inside of them. True love to them isn't a relationship where there's reciprocity. It's a woman who worships the ground he walks on. He feels like her savior. This isn't an excuse for Howard and Alice's behavior. It just explains where it may have come from. Two people whose self worth was so in debt that they had to be each other's hero just to break even. After all these years, all these other women, what made Kitty suddenly snap? Why was it Alice who broke her? Kitty didn't chase down and threaten the other girls. I can see a few reasons. She now had a friend with a shared experience who came by, and she validated Kitty's feelings. To be understood and supported is so empowering. Had Mrs. Goldsmith stayed home, Kitty probably would have just dismissed it, like she had the love letters she had seen earlier that day. Instead, her friend gave her permission to, for once, not have to be nice. She was free to express her feelings, and damn, was she angry. Another factor here is that Kitty was utterly exhausted and dependent on Howard, even though he had made more work for her. She had 4 young kids, 2 still in diapers, no help, and Howard kept a roof over their heads, so long as she was with him. She tried it before on her own and discovered that even working, she couldn't afford to take care of her family. Even though the law was on her side, she still couldn't force the child support money out of Howard. The main reason, though, the reason why Alice paid the price for Howard's actions, I think it's because, for once, Kitty lost. All the other times, Kitty had gotten Howard to come back, like the time she slept with his more successful brother to make Howard jealous enough to return. I think she believed that this meant that deep down, he loved her the most and would always choose her first. That's what kept her going and why she still worked on her marriage. And she fought hard. The more he strayed, the more perfect she became, so that she gave him no reason to leave, no reason to want someone else. Ironically, he probably resented her for this because her being so wonderful just exposed how inferior he was. She didn't complain because he always came back to her. She always won in the end. All this good sportsmanship and effort for a man she believed she was special to, a man she forgave over and over and over and over again. And here he was opening his arms for a dishwasher who can't even figure out the right way to enter a residence and would take a man away from his family, leaving 4 kids to starve. Kitty must have been horrified to find out that she had been wrong. Howard didn't love her the most. It wasn't a joke when he told her to kill herself. Then her ego stepped in and said maybe he had loved me the most, but Alice seduced him and he manipulated him against me. Then hallway, gun, fuck you, boom, 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 boom. All of this together is what caused Kitty to snap. Suppressed rage, fear, humiliation, alcohol intoxication, and easy access to a firearm. These are the ingredients that make a crime of passion. Most crimes of passion don't happen simply because there isn't a weapon easily available. If someone like Kitty, whose character was highly praised by clergymen, the mayor, and the sister of the man she killed, if she can be pushed over the edge, then let this be a lesson to all of us. Every time we tell a little girl to be nice,